The Hexologists, written by Josiah Bancroft, follows Isolde and Warren Wilby, who are the titular Hexologists. It's a Victorian-esque, steampunky with some Magitech almost type world, and they work as private investigators using hexes and magical artifacts to solve magical mysteries. And one day, they get a visit from the royal secretary for the king himself. He shows up with a specific mission for the Hexologists. The king desperately wishes to be a cake. The king suddenly is stricken with this obsession. He needs to be a cake. So says the king. Naturally, this is not natural. So, the royal secretary goes to the Hexologists to see if they can figure out what happened and can they solve the case. They get a particular letter along with it, which is a sort of ransom note. Threat letter. They get a threat letter that was also sent to the king, and whenever he opened it is whenever he started acting this way. And it is from someone claiming to be the king's long-lost offspring. And they are gunning after the king so they can reclaim their rightful place as a royal noble. And so they are tasked with finding out who this long-lost offspring, or so they say, is, and can they stop the malady? In this investigation, they end up getting wrapped up in all sorts of royal conspiracy, and it gets way darker than I was expecting, but that's for later. Now, while this story is filled with an immense amount of whimsy, I mean, the whole investigation starts because the king wants to be a cake. What's more whimsical than that? It gets a lot darker than what you would initially think based off of that premise. But it goes into all sorts of royal conspiracy, backstabbing, some really dark stuff. There's even a character who ends up just being straight up like a eugenicist, basically. You know, just a fun, whimsical topic. I'm not going to be going into any spoilers at all. This is going to be a spoiler-free review entirely because this is a mystery book and I don't want to give anything away. I think it deserves to be gone into completely blind and just be along for the ride because the way that the story unfolds and the mystery pieces together is a lot of fun, especially with all the magical elements that get thrown in. Because again, we are living in a world where magic is a thing. The limitations are very well defined. So anytime a spell is cast, anytime some new magical entity gets brought in, anytime a new magical entity gets brought in, it feels natural and like it fits with the world. And with that, I want to get into a few of the major standouts of this book that I think make it really good and really worth the read. First up, our two main characters, Isolde and Warren Wilby. They are a married couple working together as private investigators. Isolde is the actual hexamancer, I think was the term that they used. She's the one that actually works all the magic. She's the one who does the hexes. She's the brain of the operations. She's the one that really puts all the pieces together of the mystery. She's the one that does all the quick thinking. And meanwhile, Warren is just a sweetheart. He's just... what a guy. He's like a himbo, but not dumb. He's big, he is strong, he is just the nicest guy, but he's also just, like, he's the heart of this duo. And anytime they interact with each other as a married couple, it's just so sweet and wholesome and cute, and they have so many little moments that just really let their personalities shine, both together and apart, to really establish them as characters. One of my favorite scenes is they end up going into a bar, and Warren walks in first, and he is just delighted. He's just like doing almost like a little dance as he goes in, and the bartender sees Warren. They frequent this place apparently, and the bartender, he doesn't say a word, and he gets two mugs, special mugs, off the countertop, sets them down, and Warren shows up with a tin. He opens the tin to reveal cookies, and the bartender pours milk. Just this joie de vivre, loving life kind of guy, just getting excited about milk and cookies with his bartender. And that was just like a random paragraph thrown in there just for fun. It's full of stuff like that, just showing so much, again, just fun and whimsy in this book that also has such a dark underbelly and dark undertone. So yeah, the establishment of the characters, really good. And the lore and world building itself establishes a lot of really interesting aspects that, again, I don't want to spoil anything because every time a new concept is thrown in, it just increases my intrigue. I did see that there is a second book for the Hexologists, and I already ordered it because I already want more of this world. I mean, Josiah gave so much and somehow still left me wanting more. So I'm really excited to dive back in whenever I get to reading the sequel to this. So yeah, the lore, the world building, it feels like a lived-in world. And I love that. It was just, you're in it. You're immersed in it all. The writing style is also fantastic. For me, it worked. I can see how for other people it might not work as well. The prose can be very, very wordy, very verbose, but I like that a lot, where it feels like I'm being told a story by like an 18th century Englishman, where sometimes whenever you read, you have like the head voice going on in your head. I know some people don't have the internal narrative, but I'm one of the people that has an internal narrative going a lot of the times. And as I was reading this throughout the prose, I couldn't help but like read everything in a bit of a like a posh Englishman voice, like, it was on this day, blah, blah, blah. And it just made it fun. I just really like that writing style. And again, that's the thing that worked for me. If you're not into something that can be so long-winded with explanations, again, it takes its time with explanations, which works for me, might not work for other people. I liked it. There were a few things I didn't like too much. One of the things was that it kind of felt a little bit preachy with some of its messaging sometimes. I mean, throughout the investigation, it feels like there is often asked the question of if they should even be assisting the crown. Because, this is a country that's having some issues with how it's being run. A lot of people are in poverty. A lot of people just not doing well. So it asks the question every now and again, should we really be helping the crown? Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if the monarchy fell. And it just kind of brings that up a little bit too much. What I think would have been a bit more interesting is if it went a bit more into what specifically the crown did. Because, like, it's kind of easy to just say, like, the monarchy was corrupt. Sure, but, like, I would like a bit more details. It kind of just felt like shorthand for corrupt monarchy bad, which, yes. But I kind of want a bit more details as to, like, a bit of the history of what were the policies they put into place. What did they do that caused... I'll fix that later. What did they do that caused the country to be in this state? Another kind of downside, I think, is that, as mentioned, the lore and world building is really good and makes the world really feel lived in. The issue I had with the way it was presented was that it felt a little clunky in its presentation. It would happen several times throughout the story where a chapter would begin with a couple paragraphs, 1 to 3 paragraphs of just lore dumping, of just exposition, where it's kind of like you're getting a history lesson for a little bit. And granted, that information immediately becomes relevant to what happens in that chapter. So it's not like they're just telling you something for nothing. You get told this information, and then you get a good payoff to it. But it was a bit jarring each time it did happen, to the point where... we get told this information, and now we're right back into the narrative. It doesn't interweave with the narrative super well. The way I read it, it just kind of like, we have the exposition part, and then we have the story part. And they didn't really mesh together. It's not a huge deal, but it did take me out of it whenever it happened every so often. Not that what was being told wasn't interesting. Again, the world building is really cool, and every new piece of information is interesting. But it feels like, for a little bit, I was just kind of reading a Wikipedia page about the world building. I think it had issues with weaving the narrative in with the exposition. And that's just a minor issue I had with it. But overall, I do think that The Hexologist was an absolute delight. I highly recommend it if you like mysteries and if you like some whimsy in your life, with some dark undertones. I really like the characters, the world building. Again, I love the world building, everything. And it really made me excited to read more from Josiah. Again, I'm looking forward to the second book in the series, which I will be picking up and reading before too long, probably. But those are just my thoughts on the Hexologists. If you have read it, let me know what you think about it, or if you plan to read it, or if you've read anything else by Josiah, if you have any recommendations from him, because I know he has another series that he's worked on, if that is also worth picking up. But yeah, go ahead and leave those thoughts down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.